Hey everyone, it's Evangeline here at etrailer, and today we have the Kuat Transfer V2 3-bike platform rack. We're going to take a look at how it fits on our 2023 Ford Expedition. The Kuat Transfer is pretty popular because it's a Kuat bike rack. People like that bike rack because of how it can carry your bikes while still being strong, stable, and make sure you're not scratching anything up. Now, the Kuat Transfer is going to be your entry-level version of their bike rack where you don't have to pay as much but still get those premium features you'd expect. Now, for the Expedition, though, there are some things you have to be mindful of when getting a bike rack for this. One is going to be the hitch receiver is pretty high up. So you're lifting your bikes pretty high up to get onto the rack. This also has a weight capacity of 40 pounds per bike maximum, so that should help out with the fact that you're not lifting extra heavy bikes on all the cradles. Now, there is a downside to this rack though, and that's going to be the tilt away feature. It has a pretty shallow tilt, so something to be mindful of is while it is super helpful to be able to enter into the goalpost design and step closer to the bike rack, the downside is when you do step on that lever and bring this rack down to a tilt, it doesn't tilt very far. So this is what it looks like on the Expedition. We're gonna manually open up the door. So it does dodge the pedals, which is awesome. It goes all the way up here and it's stopped by the handlebars. So this is still plenty of space to reach in here and grab whatever you need. You might even be able to grab your helmets, your waters, your backpacks with no issue, but you do not have full access to the door. And that is something that you would get from other bike racks like the Kuat NV, which is a confirmed fit for full door opening access. All right, let's talk about how the bike is mounted. We did mention it has a 40-pound weight capacity, but what else? Well, it is a frameless contact bike rack. There's zero contact on the frame. All of this is on the front wheel and the rear wheel. So whether you have a step-through bike, maybe you have a really nice paint finish, all of that is protected because you don't have to get any adapters or anything. No worries at all there. Here in the back, we have our rear wheel strap. This secures that rear wheel. When you want to take this off, you press that button and this can go out. And I like to fold it to the side so it doesn't get up in the way of our spokes. And then we go over to our front tire. Again, stepping into that goalpost design. We're going to hold the bike with one hand as we press this button. There we go. Lift up, push out. And now we can grab our bike and go. Notice how high I have to lift the bike up though to get it out of the way of the rack. And that's just something that you're going to experience with this high ground clearance. Let's take a look at those cradles. Notice the way the cradles are designed. They have different grooves for different tire widths. Now on its own, this does have a maximum tire width capacity of up to 3 inches. But if you do get the extra fat bike straps, this does increase it to up to 5 inches, which is pretty good. You also have a different wheelbase capacity depending on how you set up your cradles and your rear cradle. If you want to carry wider mountain bikes, something to be mindful of is that the maximum wheelbase is 50 inches. But even those 50-inch bikes are sitting way back off the end of the cradle, so it's not as much contact on the tray as you would get from the Kuat NV. I know a lot of people really like that extra stability they get from the Kuat NV style. So double check that if you have longer wheelbases or larger frames. Notice here how I'm folding everything in. That's so it takes up less space up against our vehicle. The Kuat Transfer does stick out pretty far. Taking some measurements, I like to measure from the bumper to the end of the rack. That sits at 46 inches. So with the ability to carry around more bikes, you also have to consider that more space is being added. You already have a really large car. So if you have a very small garage or need to park into a really tight spot, that's a measurement that you would really want to know. The next measurement is going to be ground clearance. So end of the bike rack to the ground is 28 inches up here. And then from the shank to the ground, that's going to be 20.5 inches. So there is that shank rise. I'm not concerned about this making any ground, hitting the ground at any point, but I am concerned about how high am I lifting my 40-pound bikes to get up onto the rack. So that's another reason some people also get other racks, because then you can get ramps added on. That is not available for the Transfer. It is available though for the Kuat NV, as well as some other bike racks like the Yakima on-ramp that has a ramp included. All right, next feature, we're gonna fold this up. So remember that lever? We're gonna push again on the lever, but this time, instead of letting it drop down to a tilt, we're gonna lift up on the rack. It's very lightweight in a good way, which means I'm not stressing myself out about tilting away or folding it up. This is gonna be our compact position. Measuring real quick, from the bumper to the end of the rack, it's 11 inches. At the end of the foot pedal, it's 12 inches. And that's a big difference compared to when this was folded down. You'll have it in this position when you're just driving around town, not planning on going out for a bike ride just yet, but you also don't want to take the bike rack off. I see this a lot on the road, especially since when you have it in this position with that open design, you're not really sacrificing anything back here. Look at where the license plate and the backup camera is. So they sit right in this open grid design, which is awesome because then you'll be able to have almost full visibility back there for if there's any cars or people behind you. So even though it does stick up higher or further out compared to other bike racks, because of that open design, it's not as bulky behind your car. Now, this fits into your 2-inch hitch receiver. It has a hitch pin and a clip. If you do want a lock, that is sold separately. That's going to be the lock for your hitch receiver, but you do get a lock for the bike racks to be used with the cable lock included with this rack. So everything works together to make for an easy to use, versatile bike rack. Yes, it does stick out further, but it also is really lightweight and allows you to carry more bikes. The downside is that I really wish it tilted down far enough so that we could fully open up the hatch, but you also saw how high that hatch was able to go. I was still able to get a lot of clearance there to grab whatever I needed. I did mention the Kuat NV a lot in this video, but an alternative could be something like the Rocky Mounts monorail, which has a very similar capacity and features, just a slightly different design and a deeper tilt. Check that one out here at etrailer if you're curious about comparing it. But if you want to see how this bike rack works with your vehicle and if it works well, I would say yes. This is a look at the Kuat Transfer V2 3-bike platform rack, and you saw it on a 2023 Ford Expedition.